So first of all, welcome everyone. This is the Voter Education Outreach Advisory Committee. I'm here with Diane Leeds and Sarah O'Brien and Jimmy Rosari. And we're going to quickly talk about a couple of things that are coming up and then really dig into the elections that are coming up really soon. So I did want to share with you a couple of things about that are coming up just next week. As I'm talking about this, I would love it if you guys introduce yourself in the chat just with your name and your organization and what you're going to be for Halloween, because that's really important. So we have Thrive is co-hosting with SVCN, which are our counterparts in Santa Clara, a summit on healing justice. So we've all been talking a lot about racial justice, and this is an opportunity to learn and participate. And Yahaira is going to show you how you can register for it. Oh, sorry. One of the things that we're going to really be focusing on is getting people more involved in voting and running for office. And so we have a terrific panel for that. And we're going to show you how to get to it. So if you just go to our website, there's a button on the front page that's called, that has the racial justice, that cute little logo. And so then you click on the logo and then you can see all of the different sessions. So on Monday, we're going to have the Chief Equity Officer from the County of San Mateo and the one from the County of Santa Clara speaking with each other. And then we're going to have Art is Healing, and that's going to be actually in person. So there's going to be some art projects that we get to do together, as well as some viewing of art, and that's Tuesday at CZI. And then the one that's of particular interest to this group is the Breaking Barriers and Building Power. And we'll have several people from this county, a couple of people from Santa Clara County, and the former mayor of Los Gatos, interviewing them and talking really about how to engage people with lower voter turnout historically, so youth, people of color, and how they have felt as representatives of those communities in elected office. So I think it's a 1 hour and virtual, so hopefully you can all join us for that. And then we have 2 more ones coming up after that, and we hope you can join us. If you have any questions you'd like us to answer in that, in the Breaking Barriers and Building Power one, send them over, because we're still taking questions from the moderator. We're still doing self-care. This one's going to be particularly fun because, among other things, we're going to be demonstrating a happy dance. So join us for that. Yes. And then the Thrive Resource Room, specifically this time, we are going to be meeting with the director of Redwood City Pulse, which is one of our local news organizations, to talk about how you can get more connected there. And there's an organization called PenPAC, which does free consulting for nonprofits, and they're also going to be presenting. And with that, we will go to our agenda. So we'll first have updates from Jim and Sarah from the elections office, and then we will go to updates from all of you. So Sarah or Jim, take it away.
Great. Let me share a screen here if we can. Just one moment. Do you folks see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so really exciting times here in elections. We are a beehive of activity. We're so fortunate to have, some new staff members that show a lot of passion and dedication. An awesome team that we have at Tower Road and really throughout the 45 vote center. A lot of enthusiasm, a lot of passion. You can feel the building vibrate when you walk in. And it truly is the result of the staff there. These folks are doing an absolutely incredible job. with what is the most complex election that we've held to date, primarily because of the convergence of SB 450, the Voters' Choice Act, 415, which moved jurisdictions governing boards to even numbered years, pre-registration, motor voter laws. All of those have come together in 2022 to create quite an incredible election infrastructure. We have the largest gubernatorial election that we're managing right now, an extremely complex election when we talk about the creation of the official ballot. That in and of itself can give you an idea of what we're dealing with. The complexity is basically outlined in this chart. We have 432,000 registered voters as of a couple of days ago, which is slightly less than we were expecting. We were expecting about 434, and that is to change. It changes daily, and so we're seeing activity there. There's no doubt about it. And of course, people can register all the way up through election day. This is the big number here: 257 local candidates, 32 state, 13 judges, 289 total candidates in San Mateo County, with 168 seats up for election. Right here, the 190 ballot styles is really off the charts. Pretty incredible. The last election we had in June, not a comparable election because it was primary, but we had 66, I think it was 69 ballot styles. So compared to 190, it really is off the charts. The previous, I think, record is somewhere in about 130, 134 ballot styles. But the complicating nature is not only the number of jurisdictions, the number of candidates, the number of measures, but also that we're now multiplying every ballot style in 4 languages. So we have a total of 760 different ballot styles or ballot types that are really unique to each voter. When we talk to other registrar voters in the Bay Area, and we're part of the Bay Area Registrar Voters Group, we meet weekly, they are, and this is Alameda, Santa Clara, all of the Bay Area counties, they were really impressed. They couldn't believe that San Mateo County, such a small county, relatively speaking, had so many different ballot styles. And what drives this a lot, honestly, is the number of jurisdictions that we have, which is 70, but cities are really the driving force here, and going to district elections. But the number of cities in San Mateo County is 20. That is more than San Diego County. It's more than Alameda, more than Santa Clara County. We have more cities in San Mateo County than all of those other counties. We have 66 jurisdictions on the board, 252 contests, 20 measures, and 7 state propositions. Just one second. In terms of our infrastructure, you folks are aware of it, but let me just quickly go through it. Of course, we're under the Voters' Choice Act, a vote by mail environment with vote centers. We have remote accessible vote by mail. Again, I just give credit to San Mateo County and our staff. We were the first in the state to provide a remote accessible vote by mail ballot for our voters. And then the state, now this is now a law that went, of course, statewide as a result of our efforts here in San Mateo County. We have 55 drop box locations, 42 of them are outside, 45 vote centers, 3 pop-ups, 3 ballot pickup stations. And this is the curbside ballot drop-off at 20 vote centers is really a popular service that we provide. It's kind of just a trail of COVID preferences when we were in the COVID presidential election and those elections during 2020. People really got used to voting by mail and curbside ballot drop-off, to the point that the last election, we had about over 95% of our ballots coming through the mail. And when we talk about coming through the mail, that includes dropping them off at vote centers, dropping them off at curbside ballot drop-off at 20 centers. And then I'll leave you with this. Again, we were one of the first counties in the state, and definitely the first county in the Bay Area, if not the only county in the Bay Area right now, that provides a mobile vote center, as was quoted by, I think it was KABC or KCBS possibly, who went and visited the vote centers that we had during the last election. San Mateo County brings voting to the people. Our mobile vote center has been areas on the coast, in the South Coast. We have pop-up vote centers now. This vote center will be at the Half Moon Bay Airport the weekend before the election, and also be at the Hillsdale Mall Shopping Center. So I'll stop there. I'll turn it over to Sarah real quick to just maybe give an update on some of the outreach materials and meetings that we're having.
Okay, please tell me that my microphone is working. I'll assume. We have done a lot of things. Jim actually was one who spoke at the Self-Help for the Elderly Citizenship Day, so speaking to a Chinese audience, and we had it, of course, translation provided. In addition, we have Chantel, who's on the line. She had worked with Glenn, IIBA, providing a Spanish Zoom workshop for new citizens. And we've had, Mai was actually with our group at the Half Moon Bay Library, no, Cunha, at Cunha, and in Half Moon Bay, and that's Cunha Intermediate School. They were at a health event. And let's see, we have all kinds of different events. Actually, one that we're working on right now of going to possibly is a Burmese festival on November 6th. So in addition to our going to places, we have ads, Samtrans buses, several Chinese, Filipino, Spanish, and of course English ad buys. Also have some Korean, Japanese, and Hindi. I found there's only one Burmese newspaper in print around the area, and it's once a month. So it's a little difficult to, once you learn about it, now I'll know their deadlines. That, of course, we have a postcard going out shortly. It'll be the third postcard goes to voters who have not voted. Now, that's have not voted as of yesterday, but so it will go out to quite a few people, mailing on October 31st.
Just a quick add-on there, if I can. Last night we had a Civics 101 class. We had about 50 to 100 people, depending if it was virtual or not. And we got so many compliments on our postcards that we send out to remind people, and that one-to-one contact that we have with our voters. We send one more than the statutory requirement, and a lot of counties are having some challenges even getting the two out. But that is so critical, is for an elections office, an elections infrastructure to literally stay in contact with voters during the voting period, to remind people that we're in an election and to get them out to vote. The other thing is, this afternoon, we did receive a call from KPIX, and they will be coming out to Tower Road and do a segment on volunteers. So our volunteer poll workers. And so Tom Day, one of our new supervisors, who's been a poll worker for many years and manages that program, will be meeting with KPIX, and they're going to have a segment on San Mateo County volunteer poll workers, and that's going to happen today.
Sarah, why don't you tell us about that really cool flyer you have for unhoused people?
Well, this is a new thing. Last election, we did actually go and talk to some people who were unhoused, but we didn't have something especially for them to take and be able to read when they want. So we've put together a half-page flyer that on one side is talking about what's the process and how you can get your ballot if it's by mail in the general mail at a post office, or you can come into a vote center and you can give your cross streets as your address, the cross streets where you spend the most evenings. And on the other side of the flyer is information about first-time voting options for ID. Though California doesn't require ID at every election, we do require it the first time someone votes in a federal election. But there's so many options, from health club IDs to, the mobile phone statement if necessary. hopefully everybody will be covered. That's been really popular. We've given them out at the different, the county has places where people are living at hotels that are transitioning, kind of being shelters, and we'll continue to work on that.
I think that's terrific that you have something specifically for that, and we should tell the world that you're doing that, because it's great. It's really
Petra, if we have a minute, I don't know if Chantal is online, but she has some really good outreach efforts through our LAC. Chantal, are you online?
I don't see her.
Well, through our LAC, we did have an event that was an online event it was a New Citizenship Day for immigrants, and that was through the International Institute, and that was set up. It's very, very popular. Chantal is Spanish speaking. She basically made that presentation in Spanish, and also at Half Moon Bay, as Sarah mentioned. That was also an event with a lot of people, and basically, again, language minorities, have been involved and targeted in those outreach efforts. So a lot of work going on at that level with our supervisors and our employees and Sarah. Just wanted to give Chantal a plug. She did a really good job there, a great job in reaching out multilingually to various communities.
And I want to give one more shout out. It's to the League of Women Voters, because we've been working with them, the North and Central San Mateo County. Yes, hi, Margie. So we have been working with Second Harvest to attend some food distribution events and give voter registration information and election information at these events. And the League has kind of been a lead at one of these, the Daly City Partnership, and we've been going to a Tongan church and the San Mateo County Event Center. Let's see, I think that's, there was maybe one more, but lots of things. And Paul is on the line. He's been our real man on the street, so to speak, helping to get flyers up at different ethnic markets, as well as doing the voter registration drives. That's it from me.
Sarah, it's not it for you. Tell us what kind of materials that you have if we want to pick up materials in various languages.
Let's see, we've got the various languages. We have the Spanish, most things have English on one side and then another language on the other side, which are Spanish and Chinese and Filipino. We do have one handout that's Tongan on one side, popular for East Palo Alto. And they have bookmarks. We have a flyer on same day voter registration. That's something that, basically we got to talk about right now. We want people to still come register and vote at the same day. When we have the handout flyers on the homeless or the unhoused to, be able to explain how they can go to a vote center. Let's see, what else have we done? It seems like we had some special flyers. That's probably it at this time.
Let me quickly interject here, and a very important program which is being taken advantage of quite a bit is our election observer program. In the spirit of full transparency, our elections operations are open to the public. We request that you make an appointment and come view the operations. It's incredibly very, very interesting, to say the least. And we've got a lot of there's certain groups that are somewhat more interested than others, but I think everybody's interested in elections integrity. We've had a large engagement with the elections integrity folks. They've brought through probably 20 people or 30 people, and they do all of the observation from points in the facility. We just make sure we don't interrupt the election operation, but observers can certainly come and view the process. And it's really incredible when you see what we do. And also, again, it really builds confidence and an understanding in the electoral process. So that program is there. and we encourage everyone to take advantage of it. On election day, you also see a lot of observers coming in to actually see the processing of the vote center ballots. So take advantage of the observer program. It's really a great program.
Jim, do you want to give us a quick reminder also of approximately when people should start thinking about seeing results so that everybody can remind their community that election day results are not results?
Sure. Well, first of all, the first results release will occur at 8:10, and that will be primarily the results of the vote by mail ballots that have been processed through the Saturday before election. We have a lot of ballots that come in over the weekend, and generally speaking, I don't know how it's going to break out in this election, but you'll see about 60% of the ballots, that have come in are available for reporting, and that happens on election day. So on election day at 8:10, you'll get those ballots. You'll also get some very, very preliminary vote center, but the primary vote center ballots won't come in until after the polls close. So they're at 7, and then they get to San Mateo, and those releases then are on the hour. So by 9 o'clock, you'll have pretty good. You'll have a release for vote centers. The ones that start showing the numbers of the in-person voting are your 10 and 11 o'clock releases, and those, of course, are on our website. And also, again, through our observer program, we have people there actually getting the releases firsthand when we give them to them. The process is a 30-day certification, and that is because we will be receiving ballots that are postmarked on election day, no later than midnight on election day. We will be processing those ballots for an additional 7 days. They need to get to us E+7, and that means that I think it's 14th or so. All of those ballots will then be processed and included in the totals. So that the 30-day certification process is important for a variety of reasons. Number one, because there's a long tail, but also it also provides, the longer we provide a certification process, the more time it provides for people to cure their ballots. One of the greatest problems we have, not just us in San Mateo County, but is that voters do not sign their return envelopes. And that puts those ballots into a holding pattern. In fact, they're rejected. We immediately send out a letter, we'll call, we'll email. And the cure process, as it's called, a voter has up to 2 days before the end of certification. And certification in the state of California is up to 30 days. Our office, Mr. Church has said, we want to make sure that we provide voters a full 28 days to cure their ballots. So that's why we have a 30-day certification process. But in terms of the numbers, the majority of those numbers are pretty well known, well before that time, and probably about 2 weeks before. But in close races, it goes all the way down to those cured ballots. If you've got a race that's separated by 2 or 3, and we have had that, then you're waiting all the way to the very end to all those ballots that are that need to be cured are cured. So it's a long process for a good reason, and that's to make sure we include everybody's ballot in the count.
Thank you, Jim. Mike, you have a question?
Yeah, I've actually got a few questions with all the information that just came out. But just on the most recent stuff Jim was talking about, do you have a ballpark figure for unsigned ballots, like hundreds, thousands, or a percentage? I know there's 350, 400,000 voters.
A couple of thousand. I mean, yeah, a couple of thousand.
Okay.
Right now, I think we're at about 400. We do have a report that we have online that we issue every day.
Well under 1%, in other words.
Well, yeah, it depends on the election. Sometimes it's higher than that. And I think, the most important thing really for all registrar voters of the question is, how many are finally rejected? What's your rejection rate? Not only for the cured ballots, but also for those ballots that, we have signature verification. Every ballot in San Mateo County is viewed by the human eye. We have a signature verification team. We scan the actual signature, compare it to the the signature on the voter registration card. And if there's a discrepancy, it's called no sig, or it's called signature no match. If there's a signature no match, it goes into that process also. And then we'd make every attempt to try and rectify that or cure that ballot. But we do have a rejection rate that is very stringent. And I don't have that statistic in front of me right now, but
in
we're
general,
pretty liberal on it.
Do you get a majority corrected, or you don't know really?
We get a majority. Oh, by far and away, we get a majority corrected. Yes.
Okay.
Probably.
Curious. And then second question was on Sarah's talking about the people coming and voting, registering and voting on the same day. I just never thought about this before, but I presume they hand you a ballot and you have to vote the ballot while you're at that vote center. In other words, you can't go home and fill it out 2 days later.
You will be issued either a vote center ballot or a vote by mail. You can go home and sign it and drop it off.
Okay.
You'll be given a vote by mail ballot if that's what you choose.
Okay. I wasn't sure if there was some restriction because it was provisional.
No.
Okay. Anyway, those are my questions.
Thomas?
Yes, Jim. I want to compliment San Mateo County on their website. They're so far ahead of the rest of the counties and information they display. But I know that on the page where you're showing, you do display, vote by mail ballots received and vote center ballots received. I was wondering if you could just show, add to that, how many registered voters we have, and then just throw in the percentages. And then it was just brought up by the previous comment, maybe display on how many ballots have been rejected and how many have been resolved.
We do have that. I don't have that at my fingertips.
Okay, well, I was just saying you do put part of that on the website. That's real easy to access.
So give me your recommendation again. We'll go back and look and see what we can do.
One is I would, on your website, you do show vote ballots received, like it shows 47,753.
Yeah.
Today and 264 by vote center ballots. If you could show the number of registered voters and then show the number of ballots that were rejected, and then the number of ballot, the number that were resolved.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because I think that would give you some credit. Hey, we are looking at these things and we're making corrections and we're making sure that everyone gets a chance to vote.
Absolutely. We'll take a look at that. And it's interesting. We were meeting with a few folks that were applying for some of our positions that came from the state of Ohio. And nothing against the state of Ohio. It's a wonderful state. I've been there, wonderful people. But their process is really a lot different with respect to adjudication. Here we have professionals that are trained to adjudicate ballot, period. It's a two-person integrity process. We have an issue with a signature. We have an issue with an undervote or an overvote. It goes to our adjudication station. There are two people there. The digital ballot comes up and they make a professional decision as to voter intent. Fast forward over to Ohio. There, the adjudication board is appointed by the governor, and it must have an equal number of Republicans, equal number of Democrats. And as they were explaining the process, well, explain the process to me, I asked. And it goes, well, there's a lot of politics in adjudicating a ballot. There are situations with, let's say, the Democratic adjudicated ballots are, they got the last 2 or 3 in one group. And board members have been said, hey, but wait a minute, you guys got the last 3 or 4. It's time that we get the next 2. That politics, those political decisions have nothing to do with an adjudicated ballot. It is a professional judgment call that needs to be made. What was the voter intent with no politics involved? And in our process, because it is really non-political, non-biased. It's governed by an elected official. It's completely different. So you have a very pure process here in San Mateo County that gives professionals the opportunity to make their best judgment calls. And politics is just simply not part of that equation.
Wow. Okay, so we're lucky here. Sounds awful. We have one more thing on the agenda, but I think we're going to switch the order around a little bit because some people have to leave. I'd like Yahaira to share her screen in a minute, just to show some of the materials that we've produced, and then after that we want everyone to share. But Martisa has to go, so I would like her to have an opportunity to share what Nuestra Casa has been up to before we move to Yahaira. Maritza, do you want to tell us?
Yes, yes. Can everyone hear me?
Um,
I'm in a noisy place. Sorry about that. Yeah, so as probably everyone know me, Maritza from Nuestra Casa of East Palo Alto. We have some areas covering with this opportunity to have this grant. I'm very grateful for the grants that we received, that it allow us to do some of this work that I'm really passionate about it. So I had the opportunity to create some pop-ups events at various high schools. So we spent some time with Sarah High School in San Mateo, and Summit Prep, Summit Everest, and Keep Esperanza. Though we did those pop-up events for voting registration. With all that, we have exactly 57 registered and pre-registered students. So what I do is I guide them to, I use the material that Yahaira produced or the team produced. It's very helpful. So I'm using the QR code for the students. And what I do is I make them open the QR and do the registration in that time. And then with that, I sign them in. So in order to have number that of students that we serve that day, that helped me a lot to have a track of how many students we get each time that we go out. So in addition to that, we have been doing door-to-door in East Palo Alto and Redwood City and the areas that we work, including our food distribution with all the information that we need to share with the community members. Also, we have some coming events. Thursday, we're gonna go back to Keep Esperanza because they have asked us to do a presentation for the students about the importance of this, engaging them into this world of the civic engagement. So we're gonna be there. I asked the Legal Women Voters because this is what I found, that I was not prepared to do presentations. I was more focused on do tabling and be physically talk to them one-on-one. So I didn't have a presentation. So I asked Betsy and the Legal Women to provide me with some of their PowerPoints that can be helpful. And also if anyone wants to share any PowerPoint with me that is already built with the information, I would love someone to share that with me because I will not have time to create this. It's for tomorrow. And then, but I think with the Legal Women's, we have it we have it now. But that was my surprise. So I just want to tell that I was not ready for that. I think that's something that it will come up with maybe more grants that we get. I can do more of that work because I see that the schools are asking for it. So one of the things that it's been very important in this work that I do is that some of the almost all of the schools that I have been working with, they didn't know that the students can pre-register. So when I email them and I do the plan that I want to do with them and get them to work with Nuestra Casa, it's like they're saying, oh, they're only 16, they're not eligible. And then I have to go with them and try to explain them that they are eligible to pre-register. So that's one of the things that I do think that it has to be like, we have to increase that information into the schools that probably don't know, because that was my case. So I was able to help with that. And then we're going to have in El Dia de los Muertos, we will still continue doing the work. And also I got an email from KALY Public Radio from San Francisco. I think they want to do some cover of the work that we're doing with Nuestra Casa in this project. So more of that will come soon. But I just wanted to share like all the work that we have been doing, and if there's any questions. Oh, then also I will be, I'm very connected with Betsy, and we're going to be helping them with phone calls too. And yeah, very excited. Yes. If
You
there's
all are
any
doing-
questions.
It's really exciting that you're getting news coverage too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we all, I saw that Mai said she had a PowerPoint, and I know we have one as well. So we're all happy to share that. And actually we should put that into our file. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Yahaira, who's going to share all of the materials that we have made and that are available to all of you, in addition to everything that the elections office has available.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maritza, for sharing. I'm putting the link to the Google Drive that Maritza was alluding to, where we have all our toolkit materials, and I'm going to share my screen. While you pull that up, in the meantime, I wanted to show you a cute pumpkin picture that Petra's family created for their house. It's just voting theme, and very sweet that they're thinking of this election season during their Halloween. Okay, so some of the materials that Maritza was alluding to is that we have social media banners that go like this, and it includes how, when, what, and where people can vote. And the link that I put in the chat goes to this folder. Now in this folder, the social media that I just showed you, we have the banners here, and I wrote out some blurbs that you can easily copy and paste into your social media accounts and just type it in. And most of these have the links to smcvote.org. So please take advantage of this. If you don't have social media already, I've created these materials so that you can just copy and paste and hopefully have an easier time. If not, you can always share what Thrive Alliance has posted. So in this folder, we've divided it up by English, Spanish, and Tagalog. And in the English folder, we have all materials such as this brochure, trifold brochure. And then we have pledge cards. If you get people to say that they will vote in this election, they can sign the pledge cards. And then we have an easy one-pager front and back. The front side is in English, the back side is in Spanish. And it's just an easy flyer that has all the contents from the trifold, but just as a flyer if you needed that, if you wanted that. And most of these QR codes are the ones that Maritza was speaking about that are easy to access. You can register people to vote, get nonpartisan information from Voter Edge, a link to SMC Votes. So it just has all the information you may need when outreaching. Then we provided copies of our stickers, digital copies of our stickers. So, and then in this folder, we have all materials from SMC Elections Office that they have provided us. And you can go in here and find some information from the Elections Office. So if you want any materials, need any materials, let me know. I'll give you the link to this, and if you have a hard time finding your materials there, also let me know, and I'm happy to walk you through some more. Oh, I just saw Mai's comment about the carving the pumpkin. I hope that's helpful. Just know that we're trying to make it as easy as possible so that you and your community has all the information all in one place.
One of the things that we found that Yahira has been working very hard on is when it's branded, that it seems to work very well if it's branded by your own organization. So we've made all the materials so that you can add branding in, and we've added branding for everyone who's on the grant. Julie, did you have a question?
No, I wanted to thank you. It was our request to put the stuff from the trifolds that was so awesome into one document that could be English on one side and Spanish on the other. And we're really thrilled. Thank you very, very much.
That's great.
Is there a place we should add partner created material?
Yeah.
We'd love it if you just put it in that same folder.
Yes.
Okay, sounds great.
Yeah, if you have additional stuff. Go ahead.
I will create a folder right in that same link and partner created materials, and that PowerPoint that you were speaking about. I know the league has a ton of information. If you have anything, then we can put it in there. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great place to share resources. Any other questions for Yahira? Great. Okay, I think Eric wanted to share next. Eric, introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Eric Sapp. I'm staff attorney at Legal Services for Prisoners with Children. I hope you can hear me all right. So what I wanted to talk about is a very serious issue about voter eligibility information. So as you know, the law about eligibility changes from time to time as constitutional and statutory changes change the definition of who's eligible to vote. For example, Proposition 17 passed in 2020, removing the restrictions on parolees from voting. And so as of after 2020, persons on parole are eligible to vote. Now, one of the problems that this creates in terms of educating the public is that older registration cards still carry the old eligibility criteria, and some of those are still in circulation. So I discovered a number of older forms that were still being circulated a couple weeks ago in San Mateo County that had the affidavit part of the registration card requiring the person to sign under penalty of perjury that they're not on parole. Even older forms from, let's say, pre-2016 include things like not being on post-release community supervision or mandatory supervision, or under a realignment jail sentence under Penal Code 1170. And all of those categories are also, since 2016 at least, still eligible to vote under Election Code 2101 and Article 2, Section 4 are the main of the California Constitution are the main eligibility rules. In any case, this problem is not actually limited to San Mateo. Examples of older registration cards still in circulation have been recovered in Alameda County, Kern County, in the Bakersfield area, and Solano County, and other ones are still being investigated. Obviously, not a whole lot of resources. Legal Services for Prisoners with Children doesn't have a whole lot of resources to investigate this, but we're trying to uncover the scope of the problem and bring it to the attention of the Secretary of State. So if anyone has any thoughts about that, I'll put my email in the chat, and feel free to reach out to me after this meeting. And hopefully we can make sure that older registration cards get replaced by up-to-date ones, and that a system for tracking changes in eligibility is in place, so that we don't end up misinforming the public. Because even someone who has no issue with parole themselves, will, when registering, get the idea that parole and makes someone ineligible, and that can spread misinformation into the community. Anyway, thank you very much for letting me speak.
Thank you, Eric. Does anyone want to respond? I actually have a question for you, Eric, which is where did you find those forms in San Mateo County?
So one of the places where you can find forms is, post offices, libraries. Some of the forms that were being used at an event that I was myself participating in, at a registration event, had some of the Tagalog forms were very out of date, which was, I think, the first instance in which I discovered this problem, and then went out and found some, in libraries, in post office, and so forth. So they're the ones I'll say, to the credit of San Mateo County, the ones that are at Tower Road are all up to date. So that's good to know. But nevertheless, because large batches of forms in any given year go unused, and then they get recycled in future times, which is obviously an understandable and admirable idea of efficiency and not wasting paper, but at the same time it can run the risk of disenfranchising people unnecessarily.
Good.
So I have a comment or a question for you, Eric. So obviously, most of the forms that People Power has been using has that, are old and has a thing about not being on parole. In the interim, if we cross that part out of the attestation, is that at least an interim solution until we get newer forms?
I think that's a question that Mr. Church will have to answer. Whether they can guarantee that they'll accept forms that have redaction done manually. I think that's a sensible solution. I think the better solution is to remove the old forms and replace them with new forms. And also, I think also, in terms of the future creation of new forms, should include better dating of the forms themselves. Most government forms, when like a tax form, for example, will have revision month and year. For some reason, they don't have those on voter registration forms, so you have to sort of surmise based on the serial numbers what the addition is, and that's confusing for the public.
Jim, did you want to comment?
Well, first of all, thank you for all the work that you do. It's incredible and needed. Our staff has been working from the day the statutory requirements changed, and as you can see, we do have the new forms that we produce. We work with the Secretary of State in getting those forms. A lot of that is done at the state level, not at the local level, in terms of developing the voter registration form to meet those mandates. But we will, if the law is, and probably should verify it with our county council, but the law is that we do not need that attestation to accept that form, that registration. We would accept that registration. So I do believe, our first of all, our effort here is to engage, not disengage. And if a person is registering to vote and has met all of the current qualifications as of the date that they signed, that would be the primary basis of our acceptance of that registration card. So, again, I don't have a legal opinion on that, but in terms of our office, we were to receive an old card with that attestation lined through. As long as the registration card is signed properly by that registrant, we would make every effort to register that.
Thank you. So I think that's something that we probably all weren't aware of, so really appreciate you bringing that up, Eric. I'd like to go around and do just more updates, because it seems like every time somebody brings something up, there's more to talk about. So would anybody, Glenn took himself off mute, so that must mean it's Glenn's turn.
Sorry. Yeah, I'll go. I like that as a way of hand raising. So yeah, thanks everybody. So yeah, we're in the midst of outreach, as Sarah brought up. Chantel came to our did a event with us in terms of a ballot info session, which was awesome. Really appreciated that for new voters. I especially liked it because two of my citizenship students had like passed their interview like that week. We're excited, and they got to hear about how to vote. So along with others, so that was great. The main thing we're doing is phone banking. So I have a great group of Stanford volunteers, bilingual volunteers, we're having our fourth and final session tonight, and we're about 1,000 people we've reached out to in the area. So that keeps going. And we also did yesterday for people that we'd phone bank that expressed interest, info session on Zoom about the propositions, just neutral information from the Easy Voter Guide, arguments for and against in that guide on the referendums, so in Spanish. So that was great as well. And the presenters did a great job, and in terms of the bilinguals did a great job of making sure, be informative yet also nonpartisan, which I appreciated. So yeah, everything's going along great there. But yeah, that's all I got.
Thanks, Glenn. Just one more reminder about resources that we didn't say, but on Thrive's website, there's a button that says candidate forums. And if you go to that, in addition to the candidate forums, which were nonpartisan that we did, we have the recordings of those. We also have the recording of the ballot pros and cons that we did in conjunction with League of Women Voters. Well, they actually did it, we just recorded it. And we also have a lot of links on that page. So for people who want actual more information about what's on the ballot, we have links to Voters Edge, we have links to the League of Women Voters, pros and cons, and a lot of other ways to get information, because as we all know, sometimes people are like, okay, I understand how to vote, but what am I actually voting on? So that's nonpartisan information that's there. So Margie, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Margie Gator from the League of Women Voters of North and Central San Mateo County. Speaking of links, Petra, you guys, maybe if you don't have one, have a link to our candidate forum page so people can go see all the recordings from the local candidate forums. Because we just finished, we did 11 candidate forums, local. Jim, we're feeling the burden of the many jurisdictions in San Mateo County. Our league covers 19 cities and unincorporated San Mateo County, and we probably could have done more candidate forums if people wanted, but we did 11. We also did a ton of pro and con sessions. Everything went pretty well, except for some excessive trolling after Daly City in email. And that was kind of weird, but everything else went very well. We've been doing some tabling, either or covering for the elections office, as Sarah mentioned, Second Harvest Food Bank in Daly City. We're going to do a Half Moon Bay's election night out on Thursday. We also did a ton of pro and con sessions with Thrive and on our own, and with South County. And yeah, it's interesting because I did our last candidate forum last night, and people like, oh, it's too late after this to do candidate forums. I'm like, it's 2 weeks since the ballots drops, and there's 2 more weeks until election. But people seem very reluctant to do events because they think everybody's voted. I know I haven't, my ballot's right here, but I will be voting before I leave the country on Friday. So I think that's pretty much it for us, unless anybody's got any questions or comments or anything for North Central League.
Thank you all for those candidate forums. I know how much work they are. So we only did county level.
Oh, I love them. I love candidate forums, so I'm happy to do them. But I think, you know, people really get a sense of their candidates if they actually go and listen to them. And we got a lot of great questions. People were very engaged, and having them both virtual and in person really helped expand the reach.
So we'll make sure that we're linked to your page. I think we might already be, but we'll double check that.
Great, thanks.
Who wants to go? Diane, do you want to go next?
Sure, I can go next. So as San Francisco Peninsula People Power, so I'm representing kind of that group and another group. So as Eric kind of alluded to earlier, we were up at Casa Yahan Sa up in Daly City on October 8th, which is celebrates Filipino American History Month, is what it used to be called. And we were there a couple of years back in 2018, and it was a great event. What really made this a wonderful event is just all the support that we had from other organizations. So we had Jessica from NEMS at Northeast Medical Services. Marion Brown was there from BACHAC. Eric was there from Legal Services for Prisoners with Children. And then Charmaine was there, which was great because then she could help speak directly, especially to some of the older folks that came by in Tagalog. We had one lady who was going to be leaving the country, needed to update her voter registration. It was clear filling out a form wasn't going to work. So hopefully Charmaine was able to give her all the information she needed to get her to a vote center to update her registration and vote before they left the country. The other thing that related to the unhoused flyer, just talking with some of the police, the Daly City police that were wandering around the event as well, I was able to hand over copies of that flyer to the police. And that's something that, again, just looking forward, I think I'm going to always keep a pile of them with me because she was very appreciative because obviously they meet a lot of unhoused folks, and just to be able to give them that information and make them feel as though they can be, part of the political process, I think is a great feeling. The other thing is, even though most people did not take any of the quarter sheets, they were all very impressed by the fact that we had quarter sheets in English, Spanish, Tongan, Filipino, Chinese. And at the end of the event, I was able to give a bunch of them. I gave a bunch to PBRC, which was right next to us. They were not focused so much on the voter outreach, and also gave a whole bunch of that, as well as the unhoused, to CalFresh, who had the booth next to us. So, my goal was to not come home with any paper. Still came home with some, but it was really great to get that out. And there was a lot of people coming by. We had a lot of good conversations, got some folks registered to vote for the first time, got a lot of 16 and 17-year-olds to commit. They took a picture of the QR code. They committed that they would pre-register. Second kind of outreach effort is I'm also a long-term care ombudsman. And this year we try to do a kind of formal outreach to the over 400 residential care facilities for the elderly in San Mateo County, offering our services to do a voter registration drive, because a lot of people that move into long-term care right now, when they make that move, they don't automatically get a voter registration form to update their address. And that's something we're also trying to work on to include in the admissions packet. So I got a little bit of a late start, but we went out to 6 different facilities, got 20 people to update their voter registration. And hopefully we'll get a lot more people involved in it next year. And then next week, we're having a couple of ballot parties at some of these same facilities. And Charmaine was a big help, because one thing we learned working with our seniors is it's really a one-on-one process, sitting down with the form. You can't do it online. You got to sit down with the paper, one person helping each person fill out the form, and having the commitment from the administration, because a lot of times these folks do not remember information about their last four, their social security, or sometimes they don't even remember their birth date. But hopefully I think we've learned a lot from how to do this, and hopefully next year we'll get a lot more involvement. And that's it for me.
Thanks, and thanks for all the one-on-one work. Linda.
Hey everyone, good morning. I just wanted to give a little brief report and some anecdotal learnings that we had. I'm Linda Woolen. I work for Supervisor Dave Pine, for those of you who don't know me. And Supervisor Pine and I had the really great privilege to help teach a session to a government class at Cappuccino High School in San Bruno. And we worked with the government teacher to appear in 3 of her classes, and basically took over the class for the day to talk about everything. We were talking about local government, working in public service, voter education and outreach, why it was important to register and pre-register, what it meant to the kids for them to participate in civic life. Even if you're not eligible to register at this time, what other opportunities there would be for you to get involved in the elections process. And it was great. We had a great time. But a couple of things just for learnings were, first of all, I neglected to bring the QR code. That would have been a good thing. We were trying to be sensitive to some of the kids who might not be US citizens. And so we didn't sort of do a registration on site, but we gave everyone the information so they could kind of take it home with them. The thing that was really engaging the kids and really got them, was the thing that clicked with them was there's a lot of plans for Tan Fran Mall right now. The mall is going to close, and there's different proposals to construct biotech office and lab space on that site, as well as housing and affordable housing. And that was something they were really, really interested in, about what the impact of all those changes at Tan Fran was going to be on San Bruno. So we used that link to explain to them what city council members do, which led to what a county supervisor does, et cetera, and got them kind of interested in the whole process. So I think that was a good thing. I think they were very happy to meet and have opportunity to talk to an elected official. So that was a good little link. And then, with great thanks to Yahira, they loved the future voter stickers. Everybody wanted a sticker. We gave out some of the quarter sheets and the bookmarks as well from the elections office, but the future voter sticker, some wanted to get the I voted. I was being stingy about that, but the future voter was really fun for them to do. So I just wanted to share that with you. We had a great time, and also offer on behalf of our office, if it's ever helpful to go into a high school and you want staff or an elected official. I think it was really, the teacher loved it. The kids loved it. They had a lot of really great questions. Besides Tan Fran, they were interested, of course, in climate change, a lot related to gun violence. You can imagine the things that are on young people's minds today. And I think it was a really meaningful experience to take that time in the classroom. So we hope to do that again, in the future. You gave out 17,000 future voter stickers. I love that for elementary. But the high school students, especially the 16 and 17-year-olds, that was, I think they were taking a sticker, and I got the feeling they were going to go home and pre-register. So anyway, just wanted to share that.
Great. Thank you, Linda. Exciting to hear that the stickers are great. Would anybody else like to share about their outreach efforts? Everybody's off camera, so I don't want to pick on them. Oh, Charmaine, do you want to share what you've been working on?
Actually, Diane gave a some good summary of everything. I I especially enjoyed, I mean, certainly Kasayahan was very good. It was a good way to, it was the first time since before the pandemic for everybody to get together. So there were a lot of people and a lot of booths there. So, you know, that was just very uplifting to see people actually together again after all these years where we've been by ourselves. With respect to the senior center, I just smile because I helped this 101-year-old man who was very much on top of things, but and his last name was Habit. And he said, I said, oh, I can see why you're 101 years old with a name, you must have good habits. And he said, no, my name used to be Bad. My first name used to be Bad. And then I changed it to whatever his name is right now. But it really is, it's a pleasure to work with such a diverse group of older people, many of whom were very interested in civic issues. So that was great.
Thanks, Charmaine. Julie?
So we have a group of students, high school students, who are volunteering with us to do outreach. And so my first weekend with them was this past weekend. We were out on both Saturday and Sunday, tabling at 2 different parts of the neighborhood. And it's pretty exciting. It's very interesting to, you know, see what kinds of questions people have. Lots of people who didn't know that the vote center has moved, because this is the second year, I guess, where the community center in the neighborhood is still under construction. And so the vote center is going to be at the library, not the Boys and Girls Club, as many people had thought. Oh, and I was asked to ask about this. So apparently some of the vote centers have feather flags in front of them. Do the drop boxes also have feather flags? And if so, do we have one at 401 Pierce Road and also at 410 Ivy Drive in Menlo Park?
I know that we do have feather flags for drop boxes. I don't know if we have one for every one of them, but I will check on that. And yes, we also have the feather flags for the vote centers that are open currently, and that's only 3. But
Right.
October 29th, we'll have 9 open, so you'll see flags there. And the last 4 days, you'll be seeing, 45 flags.
Excellent. Yeah, if you can look on the 2 drop boxes in the Bellhaven neighborhood at 401 Pierce Road and then at 410 Ivy Drive, we would love feather flags for those drop boxes. Thank you.
You know, I actually just wanted to add one more thing, which is to a shout out to the League of Women Voters in the northern area, because I dropped in on Skyline College on their college fairs every Wednesday to give them materials that People Power had to help Diane with her distribution of materials to everybody. And the League of Women Voters was there, and I stand there tabling every Wednesday. So it's great to see them there.
Oh yeah, that was the ever talented Edith there.
Yes, Edith was terrific.
She's awesome.
Yes. And
enthusiastic.
And she's just fairly new to the area. So it's great to see her.
Yeah, not new to the league. She was involved in the
Yeah.
league where she had lived before. So
Yeah.
Anyone else want to give updates? I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but I know there's some other people who are doing good work out there.
I can share a little bit of what we're doing at the health department. We've created these bilingual flyers that explain the connection between voting and health, really helping people see that no matter what's on the ballot, it is health related because it impacts where we live and how we live and go to school and work. And so I just added those to the partner folder. There's also a PowerPoint that I created, though it's actually not a PowerPoint. It was created in Canva. So if anyone needs those as individual images to use, you can put it in a PowerPoint. We have a great intern who joined us for this semester, and so she's been doing a lot of social media for us. She's also working on 3 videos targeting the 3 neighborhoods that had the lowest turnout, or cities, Daly City, South San Francisco, and EPA. And so it's a quick video that just says where the vote centers are in that area, why it's important to vote, pointing out that they had the lowest turnout in the past and that we can change that this year. So when those should be ready in the next day or 2, and we'll also add those to the folder. And I'll put our Facebook link in the chat too, in case you want to reshare or use any of the images that she's created for us.
I think that's a good reminder that a good thing to do is to just reshare each other's stuff, because we don't all need to reinvent the wheel. It sounds like you've made some really nice materials that we can use.
Yeah, and if anyone has any, health fairs or anything like that that they're going to where these flyers would be useful, I do have a small number already printed, and I'd be happy to share those with you.
Thanks. Anyone else?
Hi, I could share. So I'm part of, sorry, let's go back to intros. So my name's Andrea, pronouns she's, hers. I work for Youth Leadership Institute. My other counterpart is not here this morning, Mr. Rod Spikes. So I am handling the social media campaign side of it, because we know youth are on TikTok and on Instagram. So I've been making a lot of videos, and I will put them in the shared material portion. I can also share with you little one that I'm proud of that took so long. And so it's kind of trying to think of ways that it's engaging for folks to look at before they scroll past. So this is just like a sample of like the type of messaging we're going for, and always putting in the link to the smcvote.org. It was a great website we have. It's really accessible. I really find it's on phone wise. It just has all the information there for you. And I love the countdown feature. So I think just like always, I always will put this in any of our videos just so folks know what this looks like. So this is just one of our videos that we created for it. And so that's on the social media side. And for Rod, he is hosting a Daly City Mayor Candidate Forum this Friday with the youth. And I could put more details. I could send more details to Yahara. I know we promoted on Instagram, but that is something that's happening, I believe, at 4 p.m. this Friday. And so, yeah, that's what we've been working on.
Love the videos. That was really great.
So Margie, you mentioned trolling after the Daly City Candidates Forum. Did that relate to specific candidates or to voting in general or elections, or what was that all about, just generally?
She's actually off.
Oh, she's off. Okay.
But it was, they had used some of the league people had their personal emails on stuff, and they got like trolling emails that weren't, it wasn't specific so much as these people need new hobbies.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Anyone else want to share about outreach or anything else that's on their minds before we sign off?
I can share. So for the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, we had a ballot breakdown that we did in collaboration with the League of Women Voters, looking at the state propositions and then voter information with the Santa Clara County Registrar's Office of Voters. That went very well. We had a lot of folks turn out, and we have a few follow-up events that we're going to be doing in conjunction with some social media campaigns. So that's what we've been working on our end.
That's great. And you span both counties, right?
Yes.
So 2 weeks left. We're going to be doing some email blasts, and we'll be doing a bunch of social media in the next couple of weeks, but we really would love it if you take advantage of the stuff that we've created and the stuff that's at the elections office, and just let people know that we really have a lot of resources to get people excited about this election. Elsa, I know you just got on, but we were just finished up sharing. So do you have any sharing you want to do about any of the outreach you've been working on? You're on mute.
And I click off video at the same time. I'm so sad to have missed hour one of this. Apologies. The outreach I'm doing is kind of election candidate related, but very interestingly, I think when I've done voter registration, and some of it's been more recently, I tend to be under a certain party's booth. And although we're generically registering, but that booth happens to tend to be next to the other major party's booth. And it's very interesting to see positioning both ways. And that's been a good bit of intel for me. I won't say surprise so much, but I am so grateful for the trend line of voting that all of you are arranging so well in the whole county. And particularly given one of the people who's running for the Board of Supervisors, who represents a lot of those lower voting and less approached areas. It's really impressive to see this changing. So I'm very glad for that. Sorry, long speech without having a good answer for your question, probably.
So glad to hear that everyone's doing a lot of voter outreach. Please use the resources in the shared folder. Yaira, maybe just put that back in the chat one more time.
Did you see my note, Petra?
Yes. Okay.
Sarah.
Just an update to what we spoke about earlier, that same day registration, you cannot take a vote by mail ballot with you home. You do need to vote while you're at the vote center.
So we'll send out an email in the next couple of days with the recording of this for people who missed it, and all of these links, and good luck to everyone. Looking forward to debriefing in December after the votes are certified.
Yeah, thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Underline.